Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during,
cannibalistic.
Team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press, and to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Hey there, malcontents. This here is the Malcontent. I hope everybody is okay. I'm over here in Studio One. I came to my desk post-show, looking at numbers and all. There is, from a meteorological standpoint, horrifying, unbelievable news out of British Columbia. I had to look at three different sources because it's so unbelievable. And the news is true. There's a place in Venezuela. It is a brackish bay, and it is considered a place where there is a endless thunderstorm. If you want to go and see lightning, this is the place to go. If you're there, the average is about 28 to 29 lightning strikes every minute that you'll see there. So you can do the math on how many that is over an hour and 24 hours. Here's the news out of British Columbia. We have been reporting that British Columbia is essentially on fire from border to border. We talked about the town of Lytton. Those forest fires in British Columbia erupted this afternoon as we were preparing for show at a level that has probably not been seen in human times. And they created something that is called pyrocumulonimbus clouds. Basically, the heat rising up creates its own weather system, creates what look like thunderstorms. Volcanoes will produce this also. Now, pyrocumulonimbus clouds produce lightning. And we have the ability on the 21st century through satellites to count the lightning strikes in 15 hours. The ground was hit in Canada 710,117 times. I'm going to say that number again. 710,117 times. The meteorological community is mystified, mesmerized, horrified. Pyrocumulonimbus storms are dry. They don't produce rain. 710,000 dry lightning strikes in British Columbia in the last 15 hours. The satellite imagery is beyond stunning on not just the eruption of these cumulonimbus cloud formations, but the amount of area that it covered. I had said in the show today that British Columbia is burning border to border, 55 wildfires in the last 48 hours. The number is going to be unimaginable for the number of wildfires that are going to be in British Columbia tomorrow. The reason that I'm breaking this like now, it's Canada, so it isn't necessarily our lane. Smoke's coming. Smoke is coming, and it's probably going to be like last year. Now, I'm not saying smoke's coming tomorrow or the day after or a week or even 2 weeks. It's going to require wind in the right direction, or in our case, the wrong direction. It's going to require an inversion to push that smoke down. But make no mistake about it. Smoke is coming. That's the number one thing. The number two thing is, we were talking about 2050, 2100 weather scenarios. This is a 2050, 2100 weather scenario. This is not anything that anyone in this meteorological community thought would happen. The scope and the scale of the amount of light, yes, 710,117. You are 100%. Yes, I know. It's an unimaginable number. I saw the number. I'm like, this has to be a typo. This can't be right. 710,117 lightning strikes. I mean, this is, I'm not religious. This is hand of God. This is biblical. This is the stuff like, legends are made of. And yet it's real. It's as real as rain. We're in trouble, y'all. We're in trouble. And I don't know what to say. I don't know how you fix this. And it's not just here. If you also want to see something troubling, go look at Russia and go look at the wildfire maps in Siberia. Siberia is on fire. And when I say Siberia is on fire, I mean Siberia is on fire. It is stunning, the scope of the fires that are there in areas that shouldn't be burning. And they are. And that smoke, that's going to be high altitude smoke. That smoke will eventually make its way here in 7 or 10 days. It's got to cross the Pacific. But make no mistake about it, that smoke is coming. That'll typically is high altitude smoke. Siberian smoke typically gives us like our beautiful sunsets. But we're going to have smoke from California. We have smoke from Siberia, and we have smoke from British Columbia. And I want to give a hearty FU to Cliff Mass and your 2016 blog, where you were like, this is an outlier year. It's just bad forest management. That's why the fires are really bad this year. It has nothing to do with climate change or global warming. I'm Cliff Mass. Listen to me. We'll get smoke like this once every 20 years. Hey, Cliff, since you wrote that blog, we had smoke every year like that but one. And right now, this year is setting up to look like something that is unimaginable. Go look at the AQI numbers tonight in Kamloops and where they're at. Their AQIs are in the 400s, which, of course, was the worst of the worst that we got here. 400, you're not going outside with a mask. Even if you're like, you can't make me wear a mask, you're probably at least going to be wearing a wet bandana over your face, because at 400, you can chew the frickin' air. No, Siberia isn't snow and ice in the winter. It's, it's kind of like this permafrosty tundra in like Alaska. With Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent and I went to Denali ironically to escape forest fires, smoke, Cliff Mass. because we had planned to go to vacation in Montana, couldn't go there. And then we were like, okay, we'll go to the coast. And the coast was all smoked in. And they're like, okay, we'll go to British Columbia. British Columbia was burning down. And we're like, okay, so where do we go where it isn't 120 degrees and there's no smoke? And it was Denali. I'm glad we went up there. It was a magnificent trip. But Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent, who grew up in Kamchatka, her parents moved out there, said that terrain really reminded her of that area, this boreal forest, tundra-looking area. So that's what's there. So there's material to burn, but yeah, exactly. MD, I'm seeing your comment, right? They had record snowfall in Australia in their wintertime. They'll see, oh, that means it's cold. It's not how it works. The jet stream doesn't know where to go. But this isn't jet stream related. This is fire behavior, forest fire behavior that's like at a biblical scale. And it's right next door. There's no, how do you mobilize resources when you have 710,000 lightning strike? Now, of course, not all, that doesn't mean there's 710,000 fires. But it means there's probably been dozens, maybe hundreds of spot fires added. Where do you even start? Where do you put the resource? What, the United States is going to send resources? We're already up to level 4. Everyone in the fire community says we'll be at level 5, which is basically we can't cope with the number of wildfires in the United States. Most people that fight wildfires in the United States think we're going to be level 5 by this weekend, which may be the earliest it has ever happened in U.S. history. Yeah, Cameron, we talked about Lighton. That was in our story today. Lighton, BC, they set the record for the all-time temperature of 49.6 degrees centigrade. That's 121 degrees Fahrenheit. To give you a comparison for the assholes in Phoenix, it's like that all the time. No, it's not like that all the time in Phoenix. You know what and I know Las Vegas isn't Phoenix, I get that, but the all-time high in Las Vegas, Nevada is 117. Lighton, British Columbia beat Las Vegas by 4 degrees. And by the way, there's no forest to dry out and burn to the ground around Las Vegas. Lighton is surrounded by pine forests. It should never be that hot there, ever. We're in trouble. I mean, when I say the we, this is the collective we. We're in trouble. And again, one event doesn't make. Climate is not weather. Weather is not climate. It is July 1. Hurricane season is 31 days. We're into our 5th named storm. That's tied for the fastest to get there. They don't believe we'll have 30 named storms, but guess what? We're on the pace. And 30 named storms was just mind melting as it was. Nothing I've ever seen and nothing thought I would see in my lifetime. Record snow in Australia. You just can go on and on and on. And when you add everything up, Siberia burning to the ground, like Siberia is on fire like British Columbia. Another year of fires in California, 1,200-year drought. Hoover Dam, I think I read like the water level behind it is like at 34%. It's just going to keep going down. I mean, you know where we're going to be in 3 to 5 years? 3 to 5 years, we're going to have states fighting over water. And we may have states, when I say fighting over water, I don't mean fighting over water in court. Like all these people moving to Phoenix, what are you thinking? What are you going to do in 5 to 10 years? What happens in Phoenix when it starts getting to 122 degrees? Like you say, it happens there all the time, because it doesn't, but it's on its way. Because guess what happens when it gets to 122 degrees all the time? We get there all the time. No, you don't. But you know what happens when you get there? Human beings can't live in places that are over 50 degrees centigrade. Our bodies literally start to fall apart. So you're either going to have to build more infrastructure to not expose yourself to 50 plus degrees centigrade, or you're going to have to leave. Las Vegas, another place. What are people thinking? It's a medical fact. I was in the military and I was in Iraq and I was 120 all the time over there. No, you look at how many people have destroyed kidneys that were over there. And you are comparing healthy U.S. soldiers to Americans that are over 50% obese and 1/3 have diabetes or pre-diabetes and can't hack the heat. We're not talking about soldiers that were trained to hump in the desert with 60 pounds on their back while they're getting shot at. And the kidney stones and all the other problems that happened. It wasn't Skittles and Rainbow in Iraq and Afghanistan. Renal systems were destroyed. And then the Veterans Association goes, I'm sorry, but your injuries were not service related. And real veterans, ones who were really in the shit, who were really in the sandbox, know exactly what I'm talking about. You're a rear echelon motherfucker, a remif, you know just who I'm talking about, sitting in some air-conditioned trailer, coming out going, it's fucking hot. Gonna go take a shower. Yeah. That's not humping it in Iraq. Spare me. And you know, this is the other thing that I wrote in my editorial. We have we're short 7 million houses in the United States right now. That's why we have a housing crisis. That's why the price of houses are going through the roof. This is why there's a lot of people that are going, this isn't a bubble, right? This is supply and demand. We're short 7 million homes. Social justice. People should have homes. It would be preferable if people were able to afford and buy their own homes, but we also live in a country that for some reason we have it in our heads that $725 an hour is enough and smoke you on that. It's a whole separate conversation. But we need 7 million homes here in the United States. Where are you going to build them? How much more forest are you going to cut down? How much more grassland? How much more farmland do you turn into for 7 million homes? And the electricity to power them? And the roads? You need some kind of roads. Even if you go, well, we won't have cars. You still need roads. All right, you need fire trucks. You need police. You need bus. Maybe you don't need police, but you need fire trucks. You need ambulances. You need Amazon delivery. These people need heat. They need internet. They need electricity. They need lights. They need water. All of this takes up power. And all of this, ironically, adds to the warming of the planet. We're in trouble. I'm not moving from one crisis to another. I did not expect coming into July going like, holy ass crackers. It's 2050. You know, and also like, you know, this isn't like the movie 2012 or the day after tomorrow or the Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode with the Chernobyl barbecue grill. Are those clouds on fire? You're talking about the patented flavor beam. No, I'm not saying that's where we're at, but we are in colossal trouble. I don't know how we get out of it. But we've got to, I don't know, because our leaders have no political will. It's not just the U.S. leaders. I mean, globally, there's no political will to do this. They, you know who they are, they're bastards. The South Park the billionaires. It's not even the 1%. It's the 1/10 of the 1% because that's how consolidated. They're not worried. They'll have us happily do our bidding for them until we all die in the heat. Very, very serious here. And then once you get rid of a couple of billion of us, you have less consumption. Guess what's going to happen to the temperature? But that's okay. I'm a billionaire. I can go find some place on the planet that can still have arable land and drinkable water and have my own little private army to keep me safe. And if you think that's bullshit, we have a Republican billionaire that wrote a check to the state of South Dakota to send South Dakota National Guard troops to the state of Texas. If that isn't 911 emergency, holy crap, this is where we're headed, I don't know what is. I can't wrap my head around 710,000 lightning strikes in 15 hours. I can't wrap my head around this. Not on the planet. Not all of Canada. British Columbia. Caused by pyrocumulonimbus clouds that created themselves in themselves because of all of these wildfires that exploded there today. And the problem that they have is, first of all, British Columbia is experiencing the same drought we are experiencing. But the second thing is they have bark beetles. We have bark beetles here. They have it way worse in British Columbia. Guess what activates bark beetles? Guess what makes bark beetles hatch from the eggs? Their temperature. They all hatch at the same time. And the hotter it gets, the more bark beetles you get. And they all come out at the same time. And they have two things on their brains: bark and getting it on. And that's it. And they have destroyed over 5 million acres of forest in British Columbia. Now, if I put on my capitalist gross hat, because sometimes you get some things that are destroyed by insects and you still have value in that timber. You can cut the timber and use the timber and sell it. There certainly is need for softwood lumber because we have a shortage of 7 million homes here in the United States, right? Bark beetles, you can't use it. Wood's useless because it's infected with the bark beetle eggs. And if you transport that, then you're just transporting bark beetles because they're kind of hard to get rid of, apparently, and they activate with heat. So they just leave the dead timber. What are you going to do? You're going to come with chains? How do you come in with chainsaw and cut down 5 million freaking acres? And then what do you do after you cut them down? You burn 5 million acres worth of slash? Really? So the hotter it gets, the more bark beetles you get, and the more destroyed forest you get, and the more wildfires you get. And guess who's going to be sucking in 3 packs a day in a couple of weeks, or a month, or tomorrow? Don't know. It all just depends on when the smoke blows in. But get ready, Puget Sound, because we're going to go back to smoking 2 to 3 packs a day. Retreat to the ocean. Totally extreme what happened there in Texas. And part of what happened in Texas is a symptom of climate change. We had talked about how historically you have the jet stream. The jet stream is a river of air that goes around the planet. In the winter months in the northern hemisphere, it can travel much faster. People say if you live in Houston or Dallas, you won't experience as much air travel. People that live in Boston, New York, Miami, or live here in Seattle or San Francisco will experience this in the wintertime. In the summertime, you may get on a plane, and let's say you're flying Seattle to New York direct. That flight might be 5 hours, 45 minutes, or 6 hours. In the wintertime, if you get, say, a 200, 250 mile an hour jet stream, and it's at an altitude that they can pop the plane up in there, that flight could become 4.5 hours because the jet stream is pushing that plane 200 extra miles an hour. Likewise, I've experienced this once. If the plane is trying to fly back into a 200-mile-an-hour jet stream, the plane actually may start to run out of fuel and they have to land somewhere to top off the fuel tank on a direct flight. It doesn't become direct. They got to top you off like in Boise or Salt Lake City so you can actually get to Seattle because you're going to burn into their safety fuel. And that flight might be 7 hours in the air because the jet stream's pushing on you. In the summertime, the jet stream typically slows down. And we generally, and it really is simplistic if we think of a normal winter versus a La Nina winter or an El Nino winter. If we have an El Nino winter where we're warmer and drier, the jet stream is generally has gone a little further north, and we are on the warmer side. Things north of the jet stream are colder. Things south of the jet stream are warmer. In a La Nina year, that jet stream may be a little bit below us, and we're on the cold side. And in a normal year, it's kind of over us, and that's why we get the windstorms, and that's why we get kind of our wet, soggy days. And the jet stream might kind of move. What's happening is the jet stream could be best described, instead of this thing which might curve like this, as a fire hose that is, no one's holding on to the end of it, and it is just swinging wildly. It is swinging wildly to the north. It is swinging wildly to the south. And so what you had in Texas in February is this amazing deep swing of the jet stream down below Texas where it shouldn't be. And we can go, oh, it was a 100-year event. But it happened in 2011. So we've had two 100-year events in 10 years. Full stop. One in a 100-year event does not mean that it only happens once in 100 years. It does mean that over a 100-year period, right, there is a chance that this will happen at least once. That's what it means. But when you look at, say, 100-year floods in Texas, the definition is pointless because Texas has been having 100-year floods, multiple times in a year. 2017, great example of this. They're in drought this year, but hurricane season will almost assuredly change that. Just depends where they train and they move into. And it's the same thing that happened with our heat. We got this epic heat because the jet stream went all the way up into the Northwest Territories and then plunged almost all the way back down. Like into, not to the Four Corners area, but kind of like deep into Idaho and Wyoming, and it kinked in this hot air. And this is what produced this. And now the aftermath of this is what has happened in Canada tonight. And these same forces is what's working in Siberia. This isn't an easy fix because here's something we learned with COVID, right? The whole planet shut down 6 months, 4 months, like the whole planet kind of just pulled the plug for 4 to 6 months. I know one of the things I noticed here, our air this time last year was so clear, was so beautiful, right? There's no pollution in the air. You could see it. But the CO2 levels, they kept rising. They kept rising. And there are concerns in the scientific community that we are reaching a tipping point, if not there, that we're having this feedback loop. The temperature is rising, so permafrost is melting, and the oceans are heating, unlocking methane and CO2, accelerating this warming process. And here's the thing. If we reach the point where the planet starts to do this, it doesn't matter if we stop burning carbon altogether. We're along for the ride at that point. And where does it stop? And we're just a bunch of warlike assholes. We're not going to work together as a planet if the shit really hits the fan. People are going to start fighting over dry ground, land that isn't 50 degrees C or above, arable land to grow crops, and drinking water. And these will become the commodities. And then the things to fuel war: oil, energy, metals, explosives, and of course, soft, squishy human bodies to fight those wars. I know it's really gloom and doom. Kind of. It's kind of like you get into like this feedback loop eventually, because what we know from ice cores and studying the planet will stabilize itself. Something will happen. The temperature will rise up to some point and it'll go back down again. And we know that the temperature over millions and millions of years has swung one way or another. What happened in BC today? 710,000 lightning strikes in 15 hours. I just Courtney, I sometimes wonder that myself also, to be very candid. Here, one second. I want to look something up, y'all. Bear with me here as I look this up. Not Britney Spears. Yeah, you type in Brit, and that's what you get is Britney Spears. Let's see here. I'm pulling up their latest dashboard. It takes a little while for it to load. Okay, if you watched Happy Hour, I said they had 55 wildfires in the last 2 days. The number is now 83. So that went from about 530 to now. That's up to 83. And of those, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are conflagrations, major fires. There are, I'm going to count this real quick. Bear with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That are considered out of control. So you have 6 major. Oh, I take that back. There's more than 6 major. I take that back. You have 22 out of control. Major fires are conflagrations out of control. So you have 22 out of control that they're investigating. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is all British Columbia. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 major fires. And one of the more significant ones is way up in the province, almost up to like where the Yukon Territory is. I'm trying to find like the nearest town. There really is no nearby town. Pink Mountain is a town, and then Prophet River. I guess Prince George is kind of like one of, but still it's far. That fire is has Highway 97 closed. So for Canada, that's like one of their main interstates. I see somebody in the comments. Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? Is the terrain, and then when you have these pyro cumulonimbus clouds with this many lightning strikes, aircraft can't operate. You can't get airdrops in there because the clouds go up so high, and the environment is just too dangerous to work on. I mean, 710,000 lightnings. This is science fiction. Think about Hollywood, writing a movie, right? All right, we want to make a movie about a massive wildfire storm in British Columbia. Okay, keep going. There'll be a rugged family. They're going to live in, this little idyllic village of Lighton. Okay, go on. And it's going to get up to be 121 degrees in in Canada. Yeah, global warming, man. Keep going with us on this. 121 in Canada. All right. I'm skeptical, but keep going. So then there's this forest fire, okay? And it burns the whole town in like 20 minutes. Whole town. Well, there's only 1,000 people. Do they get out? Everyone's got to run for their life. They don't know. Family gets separated. Okay, I'm back. I'm back in. Back in. Family tension. Yeah. Okay. And then the next day, there's 84 more wildfires. You're losing me again. And the wildfires create these thunderstorms. Do they do that? Do, okay. And then there's 710,000 lightning strikes, and they're like running through the woods, and they're like avoiding lightning, trying to find each other. I don't think our audience is going to buy this. This is a little over the top, but really, thank you for the pitch. I mean, seriously, like if you saw some movie, right? This is Sharknado stuff, right? Yeah, it's this is bad. This is bad. I don't know how you fight this. I don't know if you manage this. Imagine if you're a fire crew and this much lightning's coming down. What do you do? You're just going to curl up in a ball and say, please make it stop. There's no fighting the fire at that point. It's get low and hope lightning doesn't hit close by. And hope you've got an exit if it causes a fire. I cannot imagine the wildfire number that we're going to see in 24 hours in British Columbia. And you better get ready for smoke, everybody. You really be get ready for smoke. And our leaders, we could tell them to do something. Let's face it, like our Congress, they can't get anything freaking done. They're not getting anything done. And I don't know. In the movies, they would nuke it. And then the United States uses nuclear weapons. Get out of my office. Just get out of my office and don't come back. That's right. And today was Canada Day. Happy Canada Day, Canada. Yeah, I want to be careful, like on things like the day after, right? We're not talking like the day after. There was so much junk science in that movie, like so much junk science in that movie, and the theory about the circulatory current getting cut off, and essentially it would plunge Europe in theory into cold, because one of the beliefs is one of the reasons that areas like Norway, Sweden, northern reaches of England, Denmark, and to an extent Finland are habitable is because of the Gulf Stream, that there is this return that kind of brings in warmer, right? Because they're much further north than, say, New York or Boston. I think you look at some cities, like Copenhagen, they're further north than Seattle. And yet they have these very temperate climates. What we've learned since that theory was kicked around, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, the Gulf Stream is important to keeping it warm, but it wouldn't be this catastrophe if this goes down. Because one of the theories is that this upwelling that we have of cold ocean water, as you get more melt on the top, that this slows this process down. So it is pretty damn implausible. The funny thing is they weren't like, get out of my office. We're going to call it British Columbia Lightning. I think we can get the guy that did Birdemic. We can get him to do it. He'll do it. He'll do anything. Would love to take a filmmaking class and part of the class be watching Birdemic and then having explained to you everything that's wrong in that movie. Because basically everything is wrong in that movie. It's like one of those movies you just can't stop watching. Like, oh my God, really? Uh and the thing that's kind of sad is the blonde woman in that movie was she actually was not like you say an up and coming actress, but she had actually had some legit roles before she had done Birdemic. It was just a career destroyer for her. Yeah, see, there you go. Like I said, this is like there's under 10,000 lightning strikes caused by thunder, by thunderstorms produced by fires, all in one day. And it just sets the whole province on fire. Get out of my office. There's a puppy. I don't know what we're going to do, malcontents. We just keep going forward. I do believe we are a resilient species. I think the earth has tried to scrape us off on multiple times. And although we have found ways to go dramatically backwards, it's never been effective at scraping all of us off. Certainly the billionaire classes have made sure that they won't be scraped off, or if it's attempted to be scraped off, it will be an extreme air-conditioned comfort, free from 710,000 lightning strikes in British Columbia. And you better believe there will be a chorus of right-wing people on talking points that will be telling you, this, Cliff Mass, this is just, this could happen, right? So did climate change contribute to this? Yes. There could have been 600,000 lightning strikes, but because of climate change, there were 700,000. So I wouldn't get too worried about this. Am I right, Cliff? I hate to bag on Cliff because he's got PhD next to his name, and I'll frankly admit that I don't. But we also know where Cliff's politics are at. And I also get that many meteorologists have a conservative view on climate change. My view on climate change was undeniable. I was actively, maybe up to, it's going to surprise some people, up to maybe 3 to 5 years ago, climate change is real. Carbon dioxide increase is real. Methane increase is real. Greenhouse gases are impacting things. This is real. The weather is nuts and should be happening. This is real. However, how much of this is human and how much of this is long-term weather patterns? Because the Earth has. But then we reach this, and we have records that actually go back to 1000 AD. Now, some people are going to go, wait a minute, we didn't have Fahrenheit or Celsius. No, we didn't. But we do have weather records. We have weather records, very detailed ones, out of France and England and some other European countries. And we know that in 1000 AD, before we moved into the Little Ice Age, we were about as hot, potentially, as we are now, if not, at this point, we've probably tipped over to be hotter. Remember, I'm talking 3, 5, 7, 10 years ago. We've probably tipped over. How do we know that? We know from the trade logs, because the royals kept very detailed records, that the French were very concerned. Their vineyards were dying. They were roasting in the sun. And England had a growing trade as a wine-producing country. Now, think about this. You couldn't produce, even 10 years ago, start naming great British wines. And of course, France has been this very successful wine-producing region. So we know that before the Little Ice Age, France was so hot, they were having a hard time growing wine, and England was booming in this. And so the French crown was worried we are going to lose our trade advantage because all our vineyards are going to die from the heat. And then the Little Ice Age happened, and we had the plagues, and 40% of the planet dies off, and the great example of the planet trying to scrape us off. The Little Ice Age got worse at the same time that all the plagues were going through, mass famines, crop failures, years without summers, right? And all of that kind of started to end in the 1800s. And it conveniently started to end right at the start of the Industrial Revolution. But then what happens is this line of temperature change, because, of course, by the time we get to the Industrial Revolution, our weather records are way better. And we have Fahrenheit and we have Celsius. We have people keeping detailed track of this now in multiple locations. And the curve starts moving faster and faster and faster. And we're way off that curve. So it's not like South Park. It's not like we can have Al Gore come back and go, we're sorry, help us fight Man Bear Pig. And we're going to negotiate with Man Bear Pig to give up certain things with Satan as the deal broker with Man Bear Pig on what we're going to give up to punt Man Bear Pig from coming and destroying us all in 50 to 100 years. As humorous as all of that is. Who's a joke? Courtney is replying to yourself and you know you're a jerk? Willie, thank you for joining us. Meteorology is big time my lane. Again, don't have PhD next to my name. I have been an enthusiast, a hobbyist, and amateur since I was a teenager. My first storm chase was at 14 on a bicycle. Very serious about this. This is how hardcore I was. And I wasn't chasing a heat wave. I was going really, there was a tornado in Hubbardston, Mass. Let me go ride my bike up there. And that was my first storm chase, my little 110 Instamat. I would love to know where those pictures went. I can't find those pictures, and I'm heartbroken over it because one of the things when I went in storm chase, what I saw, which is so amazing, it's still amazing me today, I saw straw. Like, I've heard stories about this. It's one thing to hear stories and see pictures. It's another thing to actually see it. I saw straw embedded in phone poles. So the wind ripped the tornado, ripped the straw out of the ground, and it was moving at such velocity that it essentially pierced, not all the way through, but it embedded itself into phone poles instead of just kind of, breaking apart. Freaking amazing to see shit like this. People cheered when the Death Star just blew up. I do. I this is part of the reason why I'm really poking at Cliff Mask in his 2016 blog about it's an outlier year. We just bad forest management. That's why there are all these fires, and the winds were just in the right direction. It was this perfect storm of smoke. We've had smoke all around us every year but one now. And look, Seattle, we're an annual smoke season. Yeah, I've seen it, Rex. I saw it's amazing to see this stuff. Like, for instance, we have a hemlock tree here in our backyard. A cedar, actually. We have a cedar, like a real cedar, but it's a smaller one. I don't know if it was here or if it got planted when the house got built or if it was kind of like a sapling. And it's been growing each year. That cedar from the heat wave is dropping so many needles today. It's so stressed. There's a street, I'm not going to say where because it's been a long time since I had death threats and chuds driving by the house, but that was like a year ago shit. But I that wasn't a fun time in my life. Thanks, Mike Solon. There's a street close to me you drive down, you can see every tree on that street. They're the same species of trees, and honestly, I'm not big. I'm not good at that. Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent would be. Oh, they're that tree. Sure, she's a plant encyclopedia. All those trees are stressed. That much I know. Our rose bushes, and roses take heat. right? Roses could take our rose bushes all friggin' stressed. They've dropped all their roses already. We have multiple plants in the backyard that got not necessarily afternoon sun, but got kind of that high peak of the day sun. They're really suffering. Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent loves her plants. Um, if we ever got the yard organized, we would have one of these yards. We could literally have people come over and go, and here's this plant, and people into that would just be oohing and eyeing over all the plants she has. This is her therapy. This is what keeps her sane after being at the trauma hospital all day. She loves her plants. She's going to lose plants. We lost our plums, right? Shiro plum tree. They're all heat damaged. All of them. There's nothing in there about was it on this side or that side. It didn't matter. We're not going to have one friggin' plum. They're all heat damaged. They'll go to the friggin' deer and the squirrels. Isn't it cool that we could see all this stuff, right? That we could see all these aircraft now. I mean, this is one of the things, right? Everything is so tracked, which is bad. But at the same side, we benefit from it because we can just like see what's going on in real time. DC-3s fascinate me, right? Because like some of these airframes of these DC-3s are like 80 frickin' years old. And they're just still flying. And like they're one of the greatest planes ever built, DC-3. B-52, I know it's a military plane, same thing. Some of these airframes, you have third generation pilots. You have where the grandfather was a B-52 pilot, the father was a B-52 pilot, and the kid is a B-52 pilot. And the military believes those airframes are going to last like until 2050. These are going to be airframes that'll be pushing 100 years old, and they're still going to be flying. It's so different than cars. A well-designed airplane, what kills it is not cracks in the airframe or corrosion of a really well-designed airplane. What makes it go bye-bye is just the technology reaches a place where it's just not viable anymore. And DC-3s are just, they're like, this is a plane that might be flying in another 50 years. There'll probably still be people flying DC-3s. Yeah, I know, but the problem is that people use it for the wrong reasons, and that's the problem. Xerxscape is a big deal down here, but tornadoes like to tear up the garden shops. On the subject of tornadoes, like things that aren't supposed to happen on the planet. The Czech Republic had. I didn't see an official report. I don't know if they asked for anybody to come in and do an analysis on. They either have very strong EF2 or EF3. It produced baseball-sized hail, killed 5 people. You can't say that the Czech Republic never gets tornadoes. But it's enough to be like, this is really wacky that they got a tornado this strong. There's an amazing video. I don't know if people caught this. You'll have to dig around for a bit. There's a family. Massachusetts actually gets a crap ton of tornadoes. People don't know this. Or people don't, they get a shocking number of tornadoes, especially if you look at it, tornadoes per 10,000 square miles. Massachusetts is actually one of the most tornado active states in the country. If you look at it, you can manipulate data to say whatever you want. And if you kind of torture the data a little bit, you can get Massachusetts actually pretty high up on the list of tornado prone. Six Flags over New England is in the Springfield, Massachusetts area. It's not in Springfield. There is this stunning video of a family in a car. I don't know if there was a confirmed tornado. The behavior of what happened in this video does not come across as a microburst. To me, it really comes across as tornadic, rain-wrapped tornado. Their car is picked up. We're talking like the movie Twister. Their car is picked up about 6 or 12 inches off the ground. It's turned about 90 degrees, and it's put back down on the ground. And the family's in the car videotaping the whole thing. And I have thrill issues. I watched this video and I thought to myself, I would like, because the reason I say this didn't behave like a microburst is that it ended almost like this. The rain wrap, everything, it just ended, and it was like microbursts tend to be more, not located on the tail of, the tornadoes tend to be on the southwest backside of the cell. Not all the time, but that's tend to be where they are in that southwest quadrant. And generally they go by, the rain's over, and that's exactly what happened there. I'm telling you, I would have got out of the car and I'd been like one of these, I just would have been like, woohoo, that was amazing. That's as close as I ever want to get. I'm going to storm chase one year. See, there you go. You want me to storm chase? Like do a legit storm chase? Become a patron. We want to do shit like this, actually. Become a patron. We had more patrons. I would love to go cover a hurricane. If we had the money to do it, it'd be a big investment. All right, because I have to step away from the real job, blah, blah, blah. But if we had the money to invest in it, I would take the truck without even friggin' thinking about it. All right, we're heading to Texas, we're heading to Louisiana, because it looks like something big's coming in. We got, 4 days to drive down there, so let's go drive down there and we'll do a full-on storm chase. It would kill to do that. Carla, very true. Aircraft is different, though. They have to build to a different standard in aircraft. You got to remember, your car engine brakes, you're just on the side of the road. An airplane engine brakes. Bad things happen. Oh, I love this offer. And my wife and I love New Orleans. We were there. We were there too long. I'd love to go back there. God, 2014 were we there? Was it 2013 or 2014? By the way, you ever go to New Orleans, go to the World War II Museum, plan to do something light afterwards. It's heavy. It's definitely heavy. It's so well done. I have become a lot less about patriotism, rah, 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 because it's all been hijacked. The World War II Museum is so worth going to. I would say even like, I'm anti-war, but you should still go because it's profound. It's a profound place. And even if you're like, nah, it's a really profound place. It is so well done. One of the best museums I've ever been to in my life. But again, I would plan hurricanes at a piano bar. I'm not hurricanes in the literal, I'm talking the drinks. I would plan hurricanes at a piano bar after that to lighten the mood because it is heavy. But it is just friggin' amazing. Oh, totally. Yeah, there is some cool tech there too. Yeah, the LED light bulbs are a lot better about that. But yeah, some of there's some old Edison bulb that's like 100 years old or something that's still burning today. By the way, Edison was a complete asshole. And Elon Musk is the Thomas Edison of the 21st century. I'm absolutely convinced that if we don't destroy ourselves, history will be like Elon Musk was a human piece of shit, right up there with Thomas Edison, who is also a human piece of shit. By the way, Elon, if you're really going to Mars, take me with you. How do I get on the Mars trip, Elon? Probably not by calling you a human piece of shit. That's probably step one, right? You wouldn't want my defective ass up there anyway. You know of that bulb. I'm loving the comments. All right, malcontent. It's like pushing 11 o'clock. I don't know what to tell you. I'm stunned by this. Like how much coverage is this getting? Lightning, British Columbia. News. Looking on Google. All right. San Francisco Gates, the lead story. Gizmodo's number 2. Of course, Canada. Global News. CTV Vancouver, CBC, I love the CBC. CBC is like if you watch the CBC, watch the CBC. It's kind of depressing. They think we're just insane here, and they're right. Oh, okay. Here's something. Here's a news story that has not aged well. This is from the BC Interior. This is from yesterday at 5:42 p.m. I'm going to read it in my teleprompter voice. A special weather statement for isolated thunderstorms has been issued for BC Interior. Environmental Canada says there is a slight risk of isolated thunderstorms on Wednesday afternoon and into the evening, with the main concerns being strong gusts of winds ranging from 60 to 80 kilometers per hour, as well as lightning. The National Weather Agency says areas affected include the north and central Okanagan, the Okanagan Connector, the South Thompson, including Kamloops, the Nicola region, 100 Mile House, and the South Chillicotin. I don't know if I said that one right. An upper trough will approach the BC coast today on the historic ridge of high pressure shifts to the east, said Environmental Canada. Much like yesterday, a slight risk of isolated thunderstorm activity will again exist this afternoon and evening. The special weather statement is in addition to a heat warning that's been in effect through the southern and interior because of this week's record-shattering heat wave. Yeah, that didn't age well. Actually, I may pop this up. There is a video here. Let me see something. Whatever, just. Yeah, let me pull this up. I'm going to pull this up. Give me a second here. I got to change one setting. Give me a second here. So I got to change an audio setting so you can actually hear it. Doing this in real time. All right, let's see here. Yeah, this is the one. This is near. This is near Lytton. I'm working on sound.
So your lights on?
Holy Here we go, number 2.
You guys all right behind me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay behind you. We're not too far behind you. We can see you.
Okay. 42 down. Time 2. Time for 3 minutes, 6 years. I'd be hurrying up if I were you, because you ain't going to make it in about 3 minutes.
No.
Anyway, that was Lytton yesterday. Far worse there today. I guess if there's one takeaway from all this, I know we've had a big meteorological chat. You need to start getting ready for wildfire smoke. People need to start setting up their clean rooms. We have a story. Yeah, you shouldn't have echo now. We have, there was just for a moment, I had the wrong setting and fixed it. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Could be. I don't know. I know there's like this video. I don't know if that's the same person. That was the videos on the Canada News site. Yeah, it just comes down to be ready for wildfire smoke. If you have central AC, then you're kind of good, right? Because you got central AC. You should probably have a filter ready to go to replace your home HVAC unit. If you are a really sensitive to smoke and you don't have your HEPA filter, then you need to do that filter. If you don't have AC, if you have a room air conditioner, then you should be setting up that room as your clean room, because even a room air conditioner has a filter unit. A lot of people don't realize that. Actually, you might want to check that filter and see if it's a kind you wash or the kind you replace. If it's washable, you should probably wash it out. If it's replaceable, then you should be ordering replacements. If you don't have that, then your next step is a box fan. I can tell you this: if you live in Kirkland, I was in the QFC, the fancy pants QFC, in downtown Kirkland, and they had box fans there, a ton of them, and they were $17. The big box fans. I don't know how good they are, but $17. It's not expensive at all. You get that. You get a $6, or though if you can swing it, a $12 is even better. Get a higher MERV, MERV. You want like a MERV 12, a MERV 13 filter, and you can tape it, you can bungee cord it to the fan. You want the filter so that the air is pulling through the filter on the fan. And that actually does an amazing job if you create a clean room of actually filtering out the smoke in the room. If you can get a hold of a couple of filters, you should get a hold of a couple of filters. As we were advising people last year, when we were having days where we were in the mid 90s and there was horrible smoke. If we have days like that again, where it's mid 90s and there is terrible smoke, and your choice is to roast inside your house at 110 or suck in smoke, you should suck in smoke. Unfortunately, because the 110 can kill you. Right, the hot air inside the house can kill you. So you're better off opening up a window and sucking smoke. The real challenge we have here in the Pacific Northwest when we get these terrible smoke is the smoke gets worse at night here. The air cools, we get inversions, it pushes the smoke down. When we get the bad smoke, right now, smoke's all at altitude. Can't stress it enough. Friday, Saturday night air quality can go down. We are not talking chunky, chewy air. We're talking yellow zone, AQI is still below 100. So for most people, it might be, I think I smell smoke. For most people, really sensitive people with serious, like people that need oxygen, those people are going to feel it more. But generally, even if you're prone to asthma or whatever, it's not. We're not talking anything that is super alarming yet. What I'm talking about is if we get into 2020 phase. The challenge that we have here is the smoke gets a lot worse at night. The wind dies down, so the smoke isn't getting pulled. The air cools down, and it sinks, and the cooling air rises, but the particulates in it come down, and we get worse smoke in the area, and then it peaks in the early morning, and then it warms up. The heat rises, the smoke gets pushed up from that. Wind picks up a little bit, it gets a little better. And unfortunately, it happens with the heat of day. By the way, we would have had multiple days last year where we would have easily hit 100 degrees in Seattle, but the smoke moderated our temperature by 4 to 8 degrees. There were a number of days where we got like 95 and 96, and those days would have been 100, 102, 104. So this is another reason why, Cliff, you're full of shit on this is just like an anomaly. If it wasn't for the smoke last year, we would have had temperatures multiple 100+ degree days. That isn't like maybe sort of if you squint, you're twisting the data. We know that the smoke moderated the temperature that much. Well, just to keep go eat the rich. That's where they're all going, right? I mean, you must know that, just a Kiwi girl, right? They've all bought their survival bunkers in New Zealand, and I'm not saying that flippantly. I mean, they have literally bought their survival bunkers in New Zealand. So, eat the rich for us. And I'm glad you're here. We haven't seen you in a long time. I don't like the term pandemic, because that implies a whole bunch of things. Um, I'm not a big. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't think it applies. All right, malcontents. I've said what I'm going to say. I'm just kind of. I know people actually like it when I ramble. It's really weird to me. Like, put the notes down. Don't look at a teleprompter. Just random stream of consciousness. We like the random stream of consciousness. So, malcontents, be good to each other. Again, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, if you're Idaho, Washington, Oregon, smoke's coming. Get ready. And again, I'm not saying it's coming tomorrow. Not saying it's coming the day after or the day after. It might be coming in a week. It might be coming in 2 weeks. It might be coming in 4 weeks. The only thing that's left in this toxic stew now is the wind to blow in the right direction. And it can come at this point from 2 directions. It can come from Oregon and California, or it can come down from British Columbia. And again, we're going to get the high altitude smoke from Siberia probably in the next few days. Siberian stuff isn't as bad. That gives us the real pretty sunsets and stuff. Like tomorrow's sunset, if we're not as kind of cloudy. Like today, I know I had some people asking me, I was like, see a little orange tint. And I'm like, yep. There's just there's a little bit of smoke in that. Not bad, but if you're seeing a little orange tint in the sky today, then you're right. Waiting for that flight to squawk 7,700. What flight? Don't pray for Seattle. Pray for British Columbia. We got it easy. We probably just had a couple of hundred people die from the heat, and the grocery stores had to throw all the perishable food out. We had it easy. Pray for British Columbia, because I don't know how Canada deals with this. I don't know how any government can deal with with the pain that's coming there. I mean, the weather, 710,000 lightning strikes in 15 hours. Like, what is that? I can't. Let's have fun with math. 710,117 divided by 15. That's 47,343 lightning strikes per hour. That's 789 lightning strikes per minute. That's 13 lightning strikes per second. Lightning strikes per second for 15 hours. Just try and wrap your brain around that. And don't think like, again, this is over British Columbia. We're not talking like over one little town. It's still just a mind-numbing number. We're talking about the thunderstorm capital in Venezuela, which again, we're not talking a tiny little town. We're talking a larger, not as big as British Columbia, right? Venezuela would fit in British Columbia times many Venezuelas. But you're talking an area that gets 29 lightning strikes a minute. We're talking 13 lightning strikes a second. Produced basically by fires. All right. I love you guys. Be a patron. If you like this stuff, you like the numbers, you like the analysis, you like the explanation, be a patron. Follow us. You must follow us on Facebook. I think we need like 90 more people, and we have 10,000. We can do cool stuff at 10,000. Ironically, we get to use Facebook less when we get to 10,000 because we can do more cool stuff, and we'll actually do more stuff on the website.